Okay, this is Mac Boland along with Rob Sherrill, and we're back here on our Illinois Wrestling Podcast. And as our usual format, we'll go ahead and start with a recap, a little discussion, and preview. A lot of good stuff coming up. So, Rob, go ahead and start with 1A.
Okay, we had 5 tournaments in the 1A classification. Not a whole lot of surprises there. Lena Winslow Stockton rolls at Erie. Clinton rolls in its own tournament. Stillman Valley wins in its own event, edging out Mercer County. Mount Carmel wins its second tournament of the season. The other Mount Carmel.
Down
at Cumberland over Monticello. And Tolono Unity won its own tournament. So those were the major happenings in 1A in a tournament action. And Central Illinois, boy, I'm telling you, it continues to be the battleground as far as 1A wrestling is concerned. We had a double duel beginning of last week between Oakwood, newly ranked team, Hayworth, team that's been in and out of the rankings this year, and Gibson City, always a tough team. And if you want to look at how evenly matched teams in Central Illinois are, one of those it was 3 teams, double duel result. Was a 2-point match. One was a 1-point match. The other was decided on criteria. So that's kind of how it's going in Central Illinois these days, and I think it's going to continue to go exactly that way the rest of the season. I think Abe's Rumble, which we're going to preview later on, You're going to see a lot more matches just like that one.
Sounds good. Okay, so anything we had in 2A now?
Well, once again, Washington had a great week with wins. We had a 1 versus 2 match in a quad at Yorkville on Saturday, with Washington beating Crystal Lake Central by a score of 40-27. They also beat Yorkville, and they also beat St. Rita. And St. Rita, I should say, in the last round of the day, they had Crystal Lake Central beat. It was 34-34 going into the last match. Their heavyweight was winning 14-2 and got caught and pinned.
Oh my God!
That's how Crystal Lake Central wound up winning that match.
Oh my gosh!
That was a great quad as well. Tournament wise, in 2A, Milton, Wisconsin, which we'll see at the Dvorak the next couple of days, won the Harvard tournament over Grays Lake North and Prairie Ridge. Mahomet Seymour, in its first time at Mascoutah, won down there over Collinsville and Alton. And Chatham Glenwood won over LaSalle Peru at Springfield, finishing 3rd. And at the Metamora tournament, Byron, 1A teams finished 1 and 3 there, with Byron finishing 1st and Leroy finishing 3rd in between Metamora, which looked great going into the semifinals, but lost 8 out of 10. So that's how Byron took care of business there.
Okay.
So that's kind of the what happened in 2A last week.
Of course, in 3A, we had the Rex Whitlatch tournament, and has become one of the tougher tournaments in the state. I kind of going in, I think you and I both figured Oak Parker Forest was the favorite, but they turned in a really really good performance. I mean, I think it was
Very
like
solid
11
there,
placers, a bunch of finalists, bunch of first places, and that was with Tony Madrigal out of the lineup and a forfeit at 113.
Yeah, very solid performance there. DeKalb finished second.
Finished second. Very good job by them.
Providence, a very strong performance there to finish third, ahead of just edging out Sandberg and Stevenson.
Yeah. Very impressed with DeKalb. I mean, it's like they're kind of a on the rise program.
Yeah, they have really stepped up their schedule, and it's interesting there with their dual tournament is looks like it's gone from looking at my schedules. Looks like it's gone to 32 teams this year.
Wow.
So because a lot of new teams are in the DeKalb duels this year. So
nice.
a lot of them got out of Palatine. Palatine changed their format. They went from 32 teams to 60.
Okay.
They're only good day instead of 2. So a lot of those teams are to go. There is a lot of them are winding up at DeKalb instead, and they have the room out there to go to a 32 team tournament, and that's what they're doing. So a lot of the teams in the upper tier at previously at Palatine are going to be at DeKalb instead.
Yeah. Yeah. On a side note, I had a conversation with JD, who's a assistant coach over at DeKalb, and we were discussing. I told him, I said, one of these nights when they had a home duel, they should have a night honoring Dan Cliff, who, for those who don't know, back in the day, he was an absolute beast at 98 pounds back when that was the lightest weight class. I'm going all the way back to the early 70s here, but he was a bona fide stud back in those days when DeKalb was also, they were a very good program back then.
Well, the Cliff family, of course, sent several boys through there. And, of course, Dan stayed and not only was a great competitor, but, a great coach there for many years as an administrator, as well as an administrator there. And, later on at Burlington Central, where he became the assistant principal and was an administrator there for many years, and was instrumental in in Burlington's program gaining some traction. And certainly Dan had the most influence in that area, but of course Joe before him, and so the other Cliff brothers. So that family had such an impact in DeKalb.
Well, and that's why I always say, wrestling's a family affair, because you see a lot of great wrestling families running around, and you'll see legacy guys popping up. And I love the fact that you look at Walter Futrell, who was a standout at Bloom back in the day, and then his son BJ Futrell, of course, turns out to be a standout at Mount Carmel.
Yeah, many legacies over the
many legacies.
It's the kind of sport wrestling is.
Yep.
Just to let you know who is staying at Palatine, and it's going to become from what I understand, a dual format tournament this year instead of individual.
Okay.
Bartlett, Batavia, St. Pat's, Friend, Hinsdale South, Lake Park, Lane Tech, Leiden, Maine South, and Manuka, probably the 2 favorites. Mundelein, Oak Forest, Oswego East, Plainfield North, Richmond Burton, and Zion Benton are all staying at Palatine. And some of the other teams like St. Charles East, Glenbard East, and those folks are some of the teams that are heading over to DeKalb for to add to that dual field over.
So then we're going to have two dual team format tournaments then in Palatine and DeKalb.
Yeah, pretty much. I had pretty much the running at pretty much the same time.
Right. So also coming up,
and one with 32.
Also coming up, of course, you know this tournament thoroughly in and out. Abe's Rumble.
Sure.
So go ahead.
That will be next Wednesday and Thursday at the Prairie Capital Convention Center in Springfield. And we might as well cut to the chase right now with Abe's Rumble. I do have it's a total of 43 teams.
Jeez.
So it is, almost a third of the entire 1A classification. So they have 9 pools. So 7 pools of 5, 2 pools of 4. In the morning, the Pool A, which is a 4-team pool, Lena Winslow Stockton, ranked number 1, the overall 1 seed.
Right.
Is the 1 seed in that pool. Also in that pool, Hope Academy, ranked number 11. Petersburg Porta, one of the co-host schools, ranked number 25. Right. And Hoopston area. So those are the 4 teams in Pool A. They'll all wrestle a round robin. Pool B, also a 4-team pool. That's the other pool. Vandalia, ranked number 13, is the number 1 seed there.
Mm-hmm.
From their pool, Mercer County, Lawrenceville, and Seneca. So start Pool C all the way through Pool I. Those will all be 5-team pools. Mm-hmm. So they'll each wrestle a 4-match round robin.
Mm-hmm.
In Pool C, Belleville Altoff, coming off their performance in the Dvorak, will be ranked number 2. They'll be the top seed there. Wilmington, ranked number 12, also in that pool there.
Mm-hmm. And
they'll wrestle in the second round of their rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Morrison, Pittsfield, and West Frankfort are the other teams in Pool C. Heading on to Pool D, Clifton Central, ranked number 4, is the top seed in that pool. Leroy Tri-Valley, ranked number 22, is the other ranked team in that pool. Carlinville, Shelbyville, and Quincy Notre Dame round out Pool D. Heading on to Pool E.
Yeah.
This is the one pool that does not have a top 25 team in it.
Okay.
It does have 2 honorable mention teams, Auburn, one of the other co-host school, along with El Paso Gridley. Reed Custer, Robinson, and Macomb are the other teams in Pool E. Heading on to Pool F, Coal City, ranked number 6, is the top team there. Beardstown, number 23, is the second team in line, and a couple honorable mention teams there as well. St. Joseph, Ogden, and Murfreesboro. Monmouth Roseville is the final team in Pool F. Pool G, which I think is the most intriguing. It's the only one with 3 top 25 teams. Prairie Central, number 10. Rankings is the top team there, along with Sherrard, which is number 18. Olympia, which is number 20. Toledo, Cumberland, and Oregon are the other teams in Pool G. And Olympia and Sherrard are going to go against each other in the very first round. And Prairie Central in the second round, so they're going to have the other two ranked teams right out of the gate, rounds 1 and 2. Litchfield, ranked number 14, is the highest ranked team there, along with the other Mount Carmel, number 17, is also in that pool. They're going to go against each other in the second round, and I think that's going to be one of the best first day matches of the entire event. Deer Creek, Mackinac, and Port Byron Riverdale are the other teams in Pool H. And finally, Pool I, one of the new teams in there in the event, Erie Prophetstown, number 16, is the highest ranked team in Pool I. Monticello, number 24, also a new team in the field, is the other ranked team in that field. Hayworth, Roxana, and Rock Ridge are the other teams in Pool I. So that's your rundown for those first rounds in.
So that's a lot.
They're going to be going on 10 mats. So everybody's gonna be wrestling starting at the beginning. So
right,
it's going to be fun.
Just briefly, for those people who are watching and listening, okay, if you're alphabetically challenged, we're talking 9 pools.
That's correct.
And in this pool format, if you would explain, Rob, in the pool format, even though this is a dual tournament, correct?
Right. It's a pool format the first day. Everybody is going to you wrestle all 3 or all 4 of the other teams in your pool, and then they will actually get started with the bracket part of it on Wednesday night. What they will do is they will complete the pool competition. You'll have wrestled your 3 matches, or you'll have wrestled your 4 matches, and then they'll sort of reshuffle into a bracket where all the undefeated teams will be separated.
Sure.
The 1-loss teams will be separated, and the 2-loss teams, and there will be and everybody will be shunted off to a place bracket based on whether you're undefeated, 1-loss, 2-loss. And so on, and everybody will wrestle 5 times both days. So
brutal.
There will be so everybody's going to get 10 matches in 2 days,
and that's a lot. Yeah, and it's kind of the opposite of the way the Clash does it, which we'll get to later. So let's talk Dvorak now.
Okay, we have and I just finished my. My breakdown of that. I don't have the brackets in front of me because, of course, the tournament doesn't start till tomorrow morning. But I do have some best guesses based on what based on where guys are ranked, where guys might go. Of course, there is a total of 10, 15, 20, 25. 33 teams in this year's event, starting with there are a total of 9 top 25 teams from 3A in Illinois, Mount Carmel at number 3 being the highest. Also The other ranked teams, Glenbard North at number 7, Huntley at number 8. Libertyville at number 14, Plainfield South number 18, Wheaton North number 19, Edwardsville number 20, Yorkville number 22, and Neuqua Valley number 25. Those are and plus several honorable mentions: Jacobs, Hononegah, and Wheeling. So those are your top teams in from 3A. Crystal Lake Central, of course, number 2 in 2A. They're the lone 2A team in this field. And Belleville Althoff, number 2 in 1A. And Dakota, number 7 in 1A, are your 3A teams. As far as out-of-state teams go,
a couple of good ones.
There are of course, we have the 2 Ohio teams, LaSalle, which was 8th in the Ironman, and Mason, which won this event last year.
Yep.
We have Timberland from the St. Louis area in Missouri. We have a total of 5 Wisconsin teams, the highest ranked of which is Slinger, number 6 in Division I in Wisconsin. Mukwonago, Wisconsin, ranked number 8 in Division I, and Waterford, Wisconsin, ranked number 10 in Division I up there. Milton is not in the top 15, but they did win the Harvard tournament last weekend, so they'll be representative. And of course, can't leave out Luxembourg Casco, which is the defending 2A champion and ranked number 1 in Division II up there again this year. So,
and we have Iowa City West.
Those are the highlights of what we'll see and of what we'll see team-wise.
Yeah, I kind of just did a quick glossing over, but it looks like 113 and 145 are both going to be pretty loaded weight classes at Dvorak this year.
Yeah, I think 113. I think with Certain, with Sammy Spencer, with Enzo Silva of Plainfield South, and with Noah Miss, we have 4 of the 4 top 10 guys from 3A, along with Justin Peters of Jacobs, Zach Fauzel of Hononegah, and got to pull up my.
Well, we have Coleman from Mount Carmel at 145.
Lucas Sutherland of Dakota, who's a really great freshman. Sam Latona, 2-time state champion from Thompson in Alabama. Many-time Fargo placer. I have him in pretty high in my national rankings, so I would expect him to be a finalist. Couple of ranked Wisconsin guys: Mason Dutcher from Milton, Isaac Blahoyak from Luxembourg Casco. So 113 is going to be pretty tough, I think. You have to. In addition, you have to look at 126 with Chase Biddle from Belleville Althoff, the 2-time state champion. Gabe Hicksonbaugh, possibly from Thompson, 3-time Alabama state champion, along with 4 top 10 guys in 3A. Gaynor from Mount Carmel, Spencer from Huntley, Odom possibly from Edwardsville, Jamie Suarez from Wheaton North, and Matt Templeton from Libertyville. That's going to be a very, very tough weight class, 126.
Yeah.
As well as 130, and going over the rest of the toughest ones, 132. Danny Pacino from Libertyville. Bryce Bosman, two-time state champion from Luxembourg Casco. Aaron Schulist from Mukwonago. He's been occasionally in my national rankings. SIU Edwardsville commit. So plus, so very tough weight class at the top. Also the only state-ranked individual from Timberland, Caleb Conadera, who's ranked 4th in Class 4 in Missouri. So that's going to be that 132 going to be very tough. 138 has has 6 state-ranked individuals. Michael Gunther from Libertyville, Jacob Dado, state place winner from Marist. Mm-hmm. The little kid Giovanni Cassiope from Hananiga. Mm-hmm. If he's in the field, Philip Sims from Mattia Valley. Caleb Zeibel from Slinger, Wisconsin, ranked number 3 up there. And Nathan Ronsman, 4th in the state from Luxembourg Casco. So that a very good weight class. Then you got to go to 160.
Nelson Brands.
Where we have David Franti from Huntley, ranked number 1 there, and state champion Danny Brownagle from Belleville Althoff. Yeah. Both in the same weight class. So could have a nice showdown there. Mm-hmm. Probably as far as up top strength, it'd be hard to touch 182. Mm-hmm. Because with Jack Jessen of Willowbrook, Zach Brownagle of Belleville Althoff, and Jared Kratiger of Waterford, Wisconsin commit. It's going to be interesting to see what the semifinals look here, who's on whose side. I'm guessing Brownagle and Kratiger probably on the same side, and maybe Danny Benoit of Mount Carmel on Jessen's side.
Well, and I believe both Jessen and Brownagle are nationally ranked.
Well, sure, and as well as Kratiger. I have Kratiger numbers.
You have Kratiger, okay.
Top 10. So, so there's 2 nationally ranked guys there. I'm sure they'll be separated. Mm-hmm. The whole question is whose side's Brownagle go on. I'm guessing he goes on Kratiger's side, but we'll have to see. That in terms of up top. Hard to touch that one.
That's tough. Yeah. Well, and some of the other nationally ranked wrestlers we have, like Coleman, who came off he's coming off of a 2nd place finish at the Ironman. Nelson Brands from Iowa City West is in this too. So the Dvorak still has a lot of
that's right. I'm sorry, I left out Brands at 160. So we have Ferranti, Brands, and Browning. So 160 and 182.
It's going to be tough.
The semifinals are going to be can't miss. Those are the 2 weight classes to watch, and I'm guessing. I'm guessing probably Brands is the number 1 seed, and Brownagle probably in the other semifinal. We'll just have to see. Bad weight class otherwise there. Anthony Marais of Glenbard North, Mason Skloot of Wheeling, and Frank Carone of Crystal Lake Central. So that's a pretty along with, and also Devin Vandenbush of Luxembourg Casco, who was 4th in the state in Wisconsin last year.
Okay, now
so that is pretty. That's going to be a pretty. That's a very solid weight class.
And let's see, Glenbard North, Abe Assad, 170.
Right, he's at 170. So is Quiroz of Huntley, Bowmans of Neuqua Valley, Bisram of Crystal Lake Central, the Barber of Mattia Valley, and a couple of Iowa City West has a kid ranked in the top 10 in the state, Ashton Stumpf. So does McQuanigo, Jacob Stahowski, and as well as Luxembourg, Casco, Jacob Zellner. So so 170 won't be bad. 220 will be very tough with if he's in the field, Francis Dugan from Iowa City West, from McQuanigo, defending state champ, and Nate Lloyd from Luxembourg, Casco, fourth in the state last year, along with Josh Carter of Harlem, who was second in the state. Brady Fisher of Yorkville, number 6. Quentin Terry of Glenbard North, number 8, returning state qualifier. And Maverick McPeak of Dakota, third in the state last year, and number 4 at 220 and 1A. So 220 also a weight class to watch.
Now, speaking of 285, of course, we know Cassiopeia is, probably, is there anybody at 285 who can give him a match?
I don't think so. Probably Charlie Schmidt of Libertyville is the number 2 seed, and Cassiopeia has pinned him twice already this year. Of Yorkville is number 5. Iowa City West has a kid ranked 4th in the state, Guy Snow, who's a senior, and Boyd Biggs of Waterford, Wisconsin is number 9 and was in Division I in Wisconsin. So we'll see what those guys bring.
Yeah.
But no, number 2 heavyweight in the nation, and
he's
very much deserving of it. I don't think he's going to have much of a run.
Okay, so let's go to the team now. Team-wise, we have LaSalle, Mount Carmel. Anybody else you think will be in the mix for the team title?
Yeah, I think I
mean, obviously Milton's not as good as they were last year.
In a tournament this big, how many guys? How big guys Glenbard North is going to have place? I don't think a whole lot. I think Libertyville is a great bet for top 5 for history. Puccino's going to place high. Gunther's going to place high.
Yeah.
Schmidt's going to place high. And at 152, which is not very strong, if Tyler Padilla is back and healthy, he could pick up big points for them there. So I think they're in good shape for at least top 6 or 7.
Yeah, actually, I said Milton. I meant to say Mason because I don't think Mason
has Hamden at heavyweight, and I think that's pretty much it for them.
Yeah, they were a good team last year.
They have one of the Donathan brothers back,
right?
And but
obviously Zach graduated, Ironman champ. He's gone. But yeah, I don't think Mason is as tough as they were last year.
Graduation.
Yeah,
I think if the 3 Althoff guys finish top 3, they're a top possibility for top 5. It's it's a question how many points Christoph could score. I think they're a 4 or 5 man team at best, but if their top 3 finish top 3 or better, they're certainly top 10.
Okay, so gut instinct. Who do you think wins the team title? Just based on what your gut instinct, who do you think?
I think Mount Carmel will probably have the most place winners. I think it's
they're good. They're good this year.
I just don't see, except for Libertyville, I just don't see the other highly ranked 1A teams as tournaments being their strength. I think they're better balanced teams than they are tournament teams. But if they have, if a Plainfield South or a Huntley has 8 or 10 guys that score 8 or 10 points, they're going to be in the mix. and I left now. I left out an individual here at 138 that is going to be that is going to be a factor, and that's Joey Bianchini of IC. IC is in this tournament. IC has a couple of individuals that are going to make a difference. In addition to Bianchini, of course, the two Vargas brothers in the upper weights. With heavyweight not being real deep, David Vargas could score some points there. And Victor Vargas, I think, is going to be at 195, and that's not a real deep weight, so he could also score some points. But Bianchini adds a lot of spice to 138, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won it.
Okay, so now going to talk Clash. I actually was on the phone earlier today with the new tournament director, Steve Elwood. Lance Hughes started and ran the Clash for years. He stepped down last year. Elwood took over. Buchanan dropped out of the field. They're not going to be there. Lake Highland Prep from Florida dropped out of the field. They're not going to be there. They're actually, instead of 32, it looks like right now they only have 30 teams. Just based on national rankings and, what I knew, and I talked to him at length about this. I think your top 4 seeds are pretty much no-brainers. Montini, St. Edward of Ohio, Park Hill, Missouri, and Apple Valley, Minnesota. Probably going to be your top 4 seeds. We talked at length about the number 2 seeds. You've got a couple of nationally ranked teams in Simley and Anoka. And Anoka currently is like the number 2 team in Minnesota behind Apple Valley.
Where do they have Cass and Manorville?
They're not at the tournament.
Really?
Yeah, they haven't been for, they used to go all the time.
I'm going to tell you this right now. I think Cass and Manorville might be their second best team.
Oh, I agree. But for some reason, KM dropped out a few years ago. They used to go all the time, and then they.
That's a strange one. Maybe just too many teams that they see all the time.
Yeah, maybe. And actually, I believe tonight or tomorrow night, St. Michael Albertville will be dueling. I think it's either Anoka or Simley, so that'll be interesting.
I'm sure that my win is out by now, but I'm going to tell you, I got Cass and Manorville pretty high here.
Okay.
What's my? Oh, okay. Here we go. There. Yep, I have Cass and Manorville as my top Minnesota team. With Simley 1 spot behind them.
Okay.
Simley 1 spot behind them, and Apple Valley 1 spot behind them. So those are my. So Cass and Manorville, Simley, and Apple Valley are my Minnesota top 3 as of this moment.
Their rankings are a little bit different. They have Apple Valley as number 1 right now. And we'll probably get the number 1 seed in the D bracket. Now, like I said, I emailed.
Once again, these were done before the state Christmas tournament.
Sure, which is a biggie. I mean, for Minnesota, the Christmas tournament is huge. Looking at it right now, like I said, the number 1 seeds I mentioned, Montini, St. Edward, Park Hill, Missouri, and they're Apple Valley and their rankings are above the others. But the interesting thing is when you go down, the number 2 seeds, and we chatted at length on this because you've got, as we mentioned, Simley, which is good, Anoka, which is good from Minnesota. And then you've got some good Illinois teams. You've got OPRF. Besides, obviously, Montini is far and away the best. But you've got OPRF, you've got Washington.
Right.
Marmion Academy right now, still kind of in flux. I mean, I don't know if or when they're going to have a full 100% lineup. Now, the other 2, Providence Catholic and Glenbard North, are kind of a little bit down. I don't know where they're going to end up in the seating. And then he mentioned Shakopee, which Shakopee's got a lot of good individuals, but I think they're better suited for an individual tournament versus a dual.
I don't think Shakopee is a factor at this time.
No, I don't think they're a good dual meet team. They've got some tough individuals, but I don't think they have the depth.
That was it. It's interesting that that's kind of how Shakopee was constructed last year.
Exactly.
But they did have a win over Apple Valley.
They did.
I had them in my final top 25, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
Their match in the region against Apple Valley went down to the last match.
Yeah.
So even though they were not represented in the state duels, they were really the second best team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And we talked about it.
That's not the case this year.
No. And they still have a couple of good, or more than a couple. They've got some really strong individuals, but they don't have the depth.
Right.
So we talked about it, and I don't know how it's going to shake out. My suggestion, and we'll see, was Montini, number 1 A bracket with Simley, number 2 seed. St. Edward, number 1 seed B bracket with Anoka, number 2 seed. Park Hill, number 1 seed, and C bracket with Washington, the number 2 seed, and then the D bracket, Apple Valley, number 1, and Oak Park River Forest, number 2 seed. Marmion, a 3 seed.
No. I think I'm going to be honest. I think you're kind of screwing Simley by putting them with Montini.
Well, here's the thing. Now you have to understand.
That's just my 2 cents.
Oh no, I agree with you. But here's the deal, and this is what we talked about. Part of the deal with the Clash is they don't want to put Minnesota teams in the same bracket with Minnesota teams. They're going to face, you know what I mean.
I'm all for as much separation by state as you could get.
Exactly, and that was part of the equation in this. But it'll be interesting to see. I
just hope that doesn't happen, because I think. I think they're as deserving of a chance to be in the championship bracket as anybody.
Yeah,
but again, I'm not the one doing the seeding this year.
No. We talked at length about it, and the way they look at it at the Clash is it's not just obviously we want to get the best teams, the top seeds, but at the same time, Apple Valley, Simley, et cetera, a lot of these teams will duel each other anyway during the season, see each other at the Christmas tournament, and they're trying to avoid. Like on day 1, having Apple Valley and Anoka meet in a championship bracket.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit problematic having this so close to time proximity to the Christmas tournament.
Right.
And it's because now you're looking at potentially seeing each other all over again, obviously.
Yeah, and. It's still, you still have the great matchups, and it'll be interesting to see, I think, dual meet-wise, Montini, I think, is probably the favorite in this. Be interesting to see, because St. Edward, of course, has been at this tournament. This will be their 3rd year in a row, and twice they've finished second, and both times to Buchanan. Buchanan's not there this year. St. Edward finished behind Montini in the Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at Montini, and as well, they finished 4th in the Ironman, just, a half a point behind Wyoming Sem. But their lineup is really built for dual meet. I mean, they've got a couple of weak spots, but overall, they're pretty tough in a dual meet format.
Which team are you talking about?
Montini.
Well, yeah, I guess more so than last year, I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, they have good balance. I mean, they're good in an individual tournament because they've got nationally ranked guys, and even the guys who aren't nationally ranked are state qualifiers or state placers, other than a few spots. And
I still think they're vulnerable to a team that has really great upper weights. I mean, but let's face it. But again.
Well, the thing is, how many teams?
You still need no matter how you do it, 8 wins to win a duel, and
sure,
if you have great upper weights, where you're going to get the rest of the wins from.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, because a lot of teams don't have great upper weights. I mean, there's a few, but you know, for the most part, if you're going from 182 up to heavyweight, it's tough. It's tough to fill a lineup with good guys.
That's why I think a team like Yorkville potentially gives them some problems. Although Yorkville in the lower weights is
they
so
can't.
weak compared to them that they're getting pinned a lot down there. But they're a team like Yorkville is going to get wins with bonus points in several places against Montini.
Well, and I think, you know, when you look at Oak Park River Forest and how strong they are in the lighter and middle weights, but then, you know, when you get up, again, you get up to those upper weights, other than 195, from 182 to heavyweight, you know, there's 3 spots there that you got guys who could potentially not just lose, but get pinned.
Sure.
And that's something you got to consider in a dual meet format. Can your better guys in those lower weights from, you know, 106, of course, where they've got a nationally ranked kid in Jake Rundle, all the way up to 170, make enough points, even though, you know, against better teams, you're still going to lose some of those weights, and score enough points to win a duel. You're
talking obviously a difference in classification, but if they were in the same classification, you know, there are 2 teams in 1A, and that would give Montini a real problem, assuming that they were, you know, equivalent in class, and that's
Sure.
Clifton Central and Prairie Central, which are just absolutely from 160 on up, just absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
But and I mean, I don't know if they would have enough in the lower weights to pick off 1 or 2 wins, but you know, it's
well, even up top, I think
I don't see anybody in 3A that poses that kind of problem.
No, and even in the upper weights, to be fair, I mean, you can throw out Ortiz could go 160 or 152. Geraci's not bad, but Christensen's decent at 195. Ironman placer.
Yeah, I think Christensen is the stopper.
Yeah.
In that particular part of the lineup, I mean, they're, you know, for above 160, they're certainly vulnerable.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, in my opinion, I pick Montini right now as a favorite to win the Clash. Though I'll say, you know, based on what we're talking about, I think their toughest challenge would probably be against St. Edward. Park Hill, Missouri. They were pretty good last year, but
there's a team that has enough in the upper weights to make it.
They do. Now, they got hammered by St. Edward last year in the Clash. They got absolutely obliterated, yet somehow managed to upset Buchanan, which was, you know, I watched it across while I was broadcasting. It was mind-boggling to see it happen.
It's all matchups.
Yeah, it is. It's matchups. It's all matchups. And then, of course, you have Apple Valley, which is, you know, where they're strong. They're really strong. They have holes in their lineup. So it'll be interesting. I think I still in my heart, I think Montini's the favorite in this. Not saying, you know, you never know. But again, I think it's interesting when you get to the number 2 and number 3 seeds in this tournament and how that's going to shake out.
Right.
And then there's teams in there that are decent, a lot that aren't, you know, that are going to get clobbered the first round, like they always do in the Clash. And I like the setup because, you know, they do the brackets and then they assign everybody, you know, according to, you know, championship bracket, 2 bracket, 3 bracket, all the way down. So a team can go to the Clash, wrestle 3 duels the first day, lose every single one, wrestle 3 duels the second day and lose every single one and go 0-6, or a team can go, you know, 6-0. I mean, it's the nature of the way it is, but that's what makes it a great dual team format.
Sure.
So just let everybody know now, there will not be a podcast next Thursday. I will be inbound to Minnesota to the Clash. We will pick up the week after that.
I will be coming home from Springfield. So.
Yep. But the nice thing
So
is,
there you go.
after that, the following week, we'll be able to give great, recaps on the Clash, Abe's Rumble, etc., Dvorak,
Absolutely.
and be able to cover a lot of stuff. And yet, there's still a lot of good stuff coming. We still have the Cheesehead coming up, Sandberg Super Duels, etc. So, holiday time, a lot of great stuff happening, but there's still a whole lot of wrestling to go after that. It'll be interesting to see, too, how in Illinois things shake out. Especially 1A is the one that intrigues me the most. I mean, in 3A, obviously, we got Montini and everybody else. 2A, Washington and everybody else. But let's face it, 1A is wide open.
Yeah, I think it is. I started Lena Winslow at the number one out of respect, but they've done nothing to change my mind that they're the best team. They've had a pretty good schedule already, and they've just rolled. Mm-hmm. And the last year, of course, at the Rumble, we lost in the finals to Coal City. Yeah. But Coal City was, a historically great screwed team last year. So
yep. No, 1A last year was.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how a team that has 11 state qualifiers is somehow not good enough to be in a dual state meet.
Yeah.
But maybe somebody will be able to explain that to me one day. But I doubt you're going to be successful. But they've in terms of the field we have, Belleville Althoff is clearly the best tournament team in the state. I don't even know if they'll get through their bracket, their pool unscathed at the Rumble, but we'll see. They have an interesting pool with Wilmington in it, and Wilmington's always a tough customer, as they showed last year. And for all I say about City, not being in, Wilmington showed that they did deserve to be in, even though they got a break or two in the regional, and they'll probably do the same thing again this year. But I think I do think 1A is the most wide open, but I think Lena Winslow Stockton believes, based on last year, and I think I think they're going to put some distance between themselves and the field at the Rumble. I could be wrong. Great, funny things happen there every year.
Absolutely.
But that's my prediction at this point.
All righty. Okay, so everybody who's been watching, listening, I'm going to wrap it up right now. You got the recap. You know what's coming up. There's a lot of action coming up. We covered Abe's Rumble. We covered Dvorak coming up, the Clash. And then after that, there's a whole lot more going on, too.
Let me just go ahead with a couple of things that are other things that are going on over the holidays here. There's some really good stuff going on Saturday. In addition to the second day of the Dvorak, there's a new event in Davenport, Iowa, called the Muddy Water Duels.
Okay.
For people out in the Quad Cities area, this is a 5-round duel format matching the 5 Quad Cities schools on the Iowa side against the 5 Quad Cities schools on the Illinois side.
Nice.
And that's going to be a very all the Illinois schools are going to wrestle the 5 Iowa schools, and the Iowa schools are going to wrestle the 5 Illinois schools.
Nice.
So that's going to be a very interesting event.
Okay, so for those who don't know the schools involved, obviously we've got Bettendorf. You've got
3 Davenport schools.
Right,
and
3 Davenport schools.
And Pleasant Valley on the Iowa side. You
Rock
have,
Island, Moline,
Alleman, East Moline, and Sterling was the one pulled in.
Sterling, okay,
as the fifth Illinois team on the Illinois side.
That's nice. That's kind of cool.
Some other things going on Saturday. This is not a misprint. They are wrestling at 7 in the morning.
Wow.
Lockport is hosting DeKalb, Glenbard East, and Fremd for a quad. That is 7 in the morning. They are going to wrestle. And Lockport on Friday night is hosting Sandburg in a great Southwest suburban conference duel. So that'll be a
good match.
Be a good one. The Marmion Super Duels are also going on at a more reasonable time, 9 a.m. They're going to have St. Charles East, Barrington, Deerfield, Bloomington, and Joliet Catholic in.
That's a good field.
I assume everybody's probably going to wrestle 3 rounds there.
Sure.
A great and a sort of eclectic quad going on at Coal City. Prairie Central is coming in, but also Lincoln Way East and Plainfield East, which is a very strong honorable mention 3A team. So 2 3A teams and 2 1A teams in a quad there, and Prairie Central and Coal City are in the same regional for the first time this year. So that could be a very critical duel for seeding purposes down the line. And Sandburg, we just told you, wrestles at Lockport Friday night. Well, at 11 a.m., they're going to host Lincoln Way West in another great Southwest Suburban Conference duel. So back-to-back great duels for Sandburg, back-to-back great duels for Lockport as well. Brother Rice and Fenton are going to be at Montini at 10 a.m. And the Throwdown in Dubtown on Saturday night, the 23rd, is going to feature Wilmington as the opponent for Washington. That's going to take place at 6 p.m. So if you're in the Peoria area and you want to see a nice single duel, the Throwdown in Dubtown against Wilmington, that's going to happen at 6 o'clock, and then everybody's pretty much off until Wednesday the 27th.
Right, and that's when it picks up, and then we already covered
the rest of the tournaments going on that weekend. On Wednesday the 27th, we already told you about the one-day tournament at Palatine.
Right.
Also, one-day tournaments at Cicero Morton, Bradley, and 2-day tournaments starting at Dunbar for the public league teams. The other 1A single A tournament, which Abe's Rumble grew out of, the New Year's Challenge at Danville, is going to be on the 28th and 29th, Thursday and Friday. So is Granite City and Lincoln. Those also Thursday and Friday of next week. And on the same day of the Clash, Friday and Saturday of next week, DeKalb is having their duels.
Right.
And the Wheaton-Bournville South tournament going on Friday only, and the Argenta Oreana tournament going on Saturday only. So that's a wrap-up of your holiday action.
So there's a lot coming up over the holidays. And if you can't make it out of state to go to the national stuff, Dvorak's here in Illinois and everything else that Rob mentioned that's here. So there's plenty of stuff to see. Again, there will not be a broadcast next Thursday, but we will pick it up after that, and we will have a whole lot of stuff to cover the following week. And that's it for myself, Mac Bolan, and Rob Sherrill. Again, any comments, please go ahead and make them. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you here in the near future.
Happy holidays, everybody.